Marygate in Berwick-upon-Tweed, the venue for the start of Stage 3 of the OVO Energy Tour of Britain, taking the riders 183.2 kilometres through Northumberland North Tyneside before the finish in the city of Newcastle. Multiple attacks on the stage would eventually give way to a strong leading group that contained Rob Scott of Wiggins-le-Coll, Harry Tanfield of Katusha, Marygate in Berwick-upon-Tweed, the venue for the start of Stage 3 of the OVO Energy Tour of Britain, taking the riders 183.2 kilometres through Northumberland North Tyneside before the finish in the city of Newcastle. Multiple attacks on the stage would eventually give way to a strong leading group that contained Rob Scott of Wiggins-le-Coll, Harry Tanfield of Katusha Alpecin, Christopher Nopper of Sport Vlaanderen Bouwers, Dries de Bont, Coronet Circus, Jacob Scott, the leader of the King of the Mountains classifications of Swift Carbon Pro Cycling, and Rory Townsend of Canyon DHB. Scott went over the summit of the first King of the Mountains point of the day at Ford Common to take maximum points ahead of de Bont. Race leader Matteo Trentin was working with his team on the front of the peloton. He'd gone into the stage with an 11-second advantage over Davide Chimolai and Jasper de Boist. In the breakaway group, though, it was all about the King of the Mountains on the first part of the stage. They moved on to Eatwood Bank with 142.5 kilometres to go. Christophe Nopper of Sport Vlaanderen Bouwers leading Jacob Scott over the top, with Dries de Bont taking third. The gap now out to 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Rory Townsend of Canyon DHB was now the virtual leader on the road, having gone into the stage 65th overall at 3:39. On to the final King of the Mountains of the day at Lyme Hill, narrowly avoiding the official's car. Jacob Scott taking 6 points to extend his lead. It was then all about the Iceberg Intermediate Sprint in Seahouse's. Rory Townsend went early. Dries de Bont made him pay for it. He crossed the line to take 3 points. Both riders had been in the breakaway on the opening day in the battle for the red jersey. Very much looking like it could come down to these two riders. Into Wartworth, de Bont again got the better of Townsend, with Nopper taking 1 point. Rory Townsend was looking to regain the lead from Gediminas Bagdonas. As they went across the level crossing, the gates came down. The breakaway had got through, but a portion of the peloton behind had not. The decision was taken to neutralise the race. The breakaway was stopped, as was the peloton. The gap, though, was still 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Would this pay into the hands of the breakaway group as they headed towards Newcastle? The second start of the day, they were off and racing. The breakaway got going, so did the peloton, and it would light up the second half of the stage. The breakaway group were looking good to potentially go all the way to the finish. Lotto Soudal and Mitchelton Scott with the Israel Cycling Academy team were working hard on the front. Matteo Trentin in the green OVO Energy Leaders jersey is a potential favourite for the race overall. The fourth stage, the one everyone's talking about tomorrow, through Seaton Delaval, the final intermediate sprint of the day. It was 28 kilometres to go. Townsend took maximum points ahead of de Bont, with Scott taking 1 point. Past the Seaton Sluice first school kids and on towards Whitley Bay and Tynemouth before the run to the finish in Newcastle. 5 kilometres to go, and it was still touch and go. Could the breakaway stay all the way to the finish? The climb up Grey Street in Newcastle awaited the riders. Previous finishes back in the 80s and 90s of the previous inceptions of the Kellogg's Tour. It was now down to a sprint. The breakaway was swept up in sight of the final turn towards the line. And it was Rhys Britton of the Great Britain national team that made the catch. As they turned, though, it was Jumbo-Visma again. And Dylan Groenewegen, a rider that many thought would not win the stage up Grey Street, came through towards the front. And with the gap opening to Davide Chimolai behind, Dylan Groenewegen came clear to take the stage victory. Mathieu van der Poel was closing, but not fast enough. And against the odds, Dylan Groenewegen took the stage with Mike Turnison celebrating behind. Another great stage victory for Jumbo-Visma. There was some fatigued riders who crossed the line as members of the breakaway, including Harry Tanfield, would cross the finish line. It's about 25 seconds down on the stage winner. The perfect lead out from the boys in yellow. Turnison opened the door for his sprinter. Groenewegen came off the wheel of the green jersey of Matteo Trentin. Van der Poel got himself boxed. Trentin found his way out, so did Van der Poel, only for the door to close again. At this point, though, Groenewegen had the advantage that he needed to take his second stage victory and extend his lead in the points jersey competition. Davide Chimolai's team had done a lot of work to try and deliver him to the stage victory. Again, Dylan Groenewegen, the fastest sprinter in the race. Important bonus seconds for Mathieu van der Poel behind. Both Van der Poel and Chimolai would close the gap very slightly to Matteo Trentin. Another day, another stage victory for Dylan Groenewegen of Jumbo-Visma. There will be more sprint victory opportunities to come this week in the Tour of Britain. Confirmation of your stage result. Dylan Groenewegen takes the stage ahead of Mathieu van der Poel, Davide Chimolai, Turnison, Trentin, Grøndal, Janssen, Walls, Edmondson, Eekhoff and Vis were your top 10. Another day, another green jersey, Matteo Trentin going into the tough fourth stage from Gateshead to Kendal. As the lead, does this man have a strong enough time trial to run out the overall winner in Manchester? He has a 7-second advantage over Davide Chimolai. Van der Poel at 11 with the boost. Turnison at 13, 17 seconds separating the top 10.